What up? Welcome back to the pod. We are here with Just Checking In podcast with your two favorite co-hosts, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Don Don, yours truly. And I'm joined by Brother Genesis over here. Who we got?
Mr. Qualifier, how y'all doing?
There we go.
Genesis is crazy. That is a wild name. It sounds like I am a 5%er, honestly.
I'm not mad at it.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Also, also your hair, I don't know if you just got it done or not, but it looks good and it looks long.
So crazy enough, this is like a week and a half into this style. So the fact that it don't look crazy, that's cool. Let's keep the ball rolling on this. But yeah, got some braids with the ends left out, trying to see what this length is doing for me. I like it though. I'm a fan.
This whole setup today is it's a 50-50 split for me. You either look like a cool ass youth pastor in church, maybe you play the guitar some Sundays, or a problematic football player. I know you see both.
I definitely see both.
I know you see both.
Honestly, the only reason the youth pastor makes sense is because there's Genesis on my shirt. If this was just a regular black shirt, I don't think it would apply.
Well, it's the Genesis with the hair pulled back. You know, you got
It's
musicians gotta have their
respectable.
hair pulled back, but they want to show you that they got hair while they playing. You feel me?
It's respectable. It's respectable. I
Your
get it.
mother would be proud.
She would. She would. She
Unless she was the problematic football player, then she might hide.
Hard is crazy. No, Pops would probably be a fan of the problematic football player. Only because he called himself the wide receiver. The story is so hilarious to me. But
Without any context, that's wild. With context, I'm sure it's even more wild. But
trust me, it doesn't need to be explained on the airwaves whatsoever. Not
man,
on wax at all. But
we we get it.
that's what we be having to tell him. But how have you been, man? I feel like we ain't rapped in a while, I feel like, for whatever reason. It's been like a couple weeks.
Yeah, not for real. The word of the week is pivot.
Hmm.
None of my week since, well, let's be real, Monday. None of my week has gone according to plan. And I'm a person who can pivot, who can be fluid, who can be flexible. But when I got a plan and I see a path forward, like I want my stuff to happen the way that I've intended.
Hmm.
That unfortunately is not how life works. So you pivot one day and then you recover, and then you pivot the next day and then you recover, and you pivot the next day and then you recover, and then you realize that you've just been doing this for 5 days. So adulting, decisions that have been made, things that I have been left out of, which is a pet peeve. Yeah, so I'm pivoting and I'm choosing to smile.
You really have to choose. Pivot is a really good word. Pivot isn't the word of the week for me, but I do feel like I don't think I had a lot of adjusting this week, but it was almost like this week was kind of like a reality check. I think that's the best way I could put it. Like it wasn't too much pivoting I had to do because I was very aware of what I needed to do throughout the week. However, I just didn't have it. Didn't have it. Couldn't do it. Didn't have the energy, didn't have the couldn't push myself to just really kind of lock in and catch up. I feel like I've been playing catch up all week and still doing so. So hoping to get that rectified going into the holiday season because I would love to actually be able to enjoy this vacation that is rapidly approaching. But yeah, pivoting, adulting. I feel like when we've talked all this year, you've been at a pretty good baseline of like you're like good where you are in terms of adulting. I don't think it's a facade, but I think this is the first time where you kind of spoke to adulting as it's still a like I'm still, you still don't get it 100% right all the time. What do you feel like your relationship with adulting has been like as you reach this space where you're more comfortable, but you still have these moments where you have to pivot, or you still have these moments where you realize, oh, things aren't kind of going the way I would want them to, even though you're kind of doing everything that's in your control.
Mhm. First of all, before I answer that, you said you felt like you was playing catch up. The little drummer boy in my head just screamed out mustard, and I just couldn't find it.
I almost did. I had to stop myself from doing it when I said catch up, but it's a
That's why I started smiling a little bit. I was like, Donald, just temper the little man in your brain.
let the little
Um,
drummer boy free. It's okay.
ooh, let's not do that. The to answer your question, though, let's look at adulting in the context of an intimate relationship, right?
Okay.
When you first, with your partner or whatever, you like, ooh, this is exciting. It's the honeymoon phase. You like, ooh, I'm an adult. I can do these things or whatever. And then you get to the point where it's just like, okay, I'm with you, but do I really like you? Because I keep seeing other people walk by, other people liking my pictures, other people are, trying to holler or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm making a conscious decision to actually be an adult, to be with you. Then it gets to the point in the relationship of adulting that you realize, like, do you really want to break up? Do you really want to have to start all over? You like, you know what? The good outweighs the bad barely, so we just gonna see this through. And that's where I'm at right now. We just gonna see this through. Okay. Between bills, my furnace went out. Luckily, the warranty is a thing, so that got fixed over 2 weeks. But if you don't know, it's been cold as hell in Chicago. So it's been me for a couple of days, but that got fixed. Um, you think you're making progress to be able to. I wanted to say this, well, I will say this in a future episode, but I wanted to say definitively that I have paid off my car. It's almost there. And I'm like, ooh, that money I can free up and allocate somewhere else. And then property taxes went up. So that car money is now going there. I'm grateful that, that money can be applied, but I ain't had no grace period. They was like, actually, December 1st, this shit going up and we gonna need some more money. And I was paying off my car in December. So yeah, adulting, till death do us part at this point. I think I'm married to adulting and I didn't realize that I had a ceremony.
No, honestly, truly, you know, because you never really know. Like, you don't realize you deep in it until you deep in it. Like, we've talked about it before, but you get that period like in college, you are of legal age, but you're not really an adult. You're not grown just yet. At least in undergrad. Now, maybe in grad school, if you do that, you might get your first taste of it. Or for people that don't go to grad school route, when you get your real first job, your real first 9 to 5, maybe that's the true like first taste of it. But sometimes you look up, you 25, 26, 27, all of a sudden you need even adulthood and you didn't even realize how you got here. Like that happened for me post grad school. I remember that first year or two, I was just like, oh, we're here. There's no real going back from this. But I don't really know if I have a moment or an instance that felt like a not that I conquered adulthood, but it kind of felt like, ooh, this is me, like being an adult. Like I'm proud of myself. Like, do you have that moment? I feel like if you got a moment, that might help me figure out mine. Where it was like, this is like an adult thing that I did intentionally, like efficiently, like I took care of my business like I'm supposed to as an adult.
No, I think it's a lot of those moments. It's not just one because then it's like, ooh, I'm an adult. And then 2 days later, you'd be like, I need an adult. And then a week later, you'd be like, ooh, I'm an adult again. Like, yeah. Um, I bought a house on accident. I know that sounds crazy. Well, wild, excuse me. But I bought a house on accident. I was looking for a place to move. I started off with the apartment search and then apartment rent. Those prices were the same as condo purchases in Chicago. And I said, actually, I could get a lot more space and do a lot more with my money. Then I looked at the condo and I'm like, well, I'm gonna spend this much. Then let me see what single family homes look like. And then I looked at the houses and it ended up being cheaper and I accidentally bought a house. So that was very adult, but it didn't feel it at the time. It was like, okay, you do these meetings and closing costs and meet with a realtor. And I was just like, none of this feels real. And then I moved in this empty ass house by myself and was like, oh, I'm an adult. Um, I took my family on a family vacation, all five of us, and paid the majority of the trip. And in planning for it, like, we started planning in partnership with this. And then payments started coming up, and I was like, "Oh, I got it, so I can do this. Oh, I got it, I can do this." By the end of it, I had done that, so it was just like, "Damn, I don't have a partner or kids at the time." Like that felt very adult because who's buying cheap drinks in the college town for everybody? You know, like that. We still splitting bills when we like, "Ooh, let's go to Cheddar's." But here I am in Mexico talking about get it all for them. Like that felt very adult. Telling people no, quitting jobs, telling people no and setting boundaries, those felt very adult. So I don't know, they happen in different parts, but I still feel like a grown child. So am I an adult? Y'all tell me that, but I don't eat before 12.
Adults aren't the people that are we aren't the people that we think we are. We a lot of us are grown children. A lot of us still calling our parents for help with certain things. And I ain't got no shame. I ain't got no shame. Let me tell you right now. I ain't got no shame in it. But I think to your point about boundaries and saying no, I think like that's more so the lane where I felt like I started kind of first feeling like an adult, like being able to say, yo, I really can't do this because it will put me in this situation. Like having
Mhm.
to think ahead, having to even some it seems so simple, but even planning ahead like, yo, I need to make sure I take these days off because I shouldn't just wait. I shouldn't just have this trip in my head and then tell my
Right.
job a week in advance. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm be gone for days. Like even small stuff like that. Like it's real simple, but I think just the aspect of finding that like sweet spot of being able to be in the present just enough, but plan ahead just enough so that you aren't putting yourself at a deficit when it comes to things that are happening in life. So that's taking all the things into consideration, whether it's job, plans, finances, all of that. And I think it's just the fact that it never really it's never gonna stop. You know,
Mm.
it's gonna be a new bill, it's gonna be a new responsibility, it's gonna be a new something all the time. That is scary. Well, I'll rephrase that. It ain't really scary, like you accept that that's how life is, but it's like it can be daunting to think about the fact that you feel like you can get on top of something and then here come two more things where it's like, yeah, nope, you got to start this process now. And I think it's more discouraging than a lot of people would like to admit. I think we all try to keep a relatively positive outlook on life, but I think there's a lot more people really discouraged by that reality than we talk about. And I think we see it come up in certain things, whether it be certain mental health things or whatever the case may be. But I think it should be more of a conversation from the standpoint of how difficult it is for some people to navigate those things because it's not always just a finance thing. Sometimes it's the responsibility of people who now have to carry the burden of things going on in their family and taking care of those, type of things. And all these things that people don't even think about that play a role in how difficult life can be. So yeah, adult is not really fun. Not really. Sometimes you make it fun, but the reality of it isn't fun.
Definitely make it fun. Life will make it fun for you.
Facts.
Uh, but you know what? It's something about too adulting and maturing and like aging that you realize that you get older. You celebrate your birthday or don't, but you acknowledge that you get a year older every year, right? But you still feel at your like soul age, wherever that was before. Like, oh, I'm 34, but I think I'm maybe like 28, 29 in my head. Um, but everybody else's age pauses around you. You don't realize that, your younger siblings and cousins are now about to be 20, 18, those kind of things. You don't realize that your parents are, getting older. You don't realize all of these things because when you left them, or when you kind of pause them in your head at a certain time. So I still be like, adulting, you want me to do what? I'm just a baby. Like, what do you want me to do? And then be like, no, you 34. Like, you have adult responsibilities and money and a car and ways to do things. And it's just like, damn, so I can't call on nobody, huh? That's just me and Jesus. Got you. Okay.
Just me and no, for real. When we was with mom's for her birthday, I was talking with my brother and we were both just kind of talking about how like our parents aren't young. And like to your point, it's like it's not you don't necessarily forget that your parents get older, but sometimes you look up and it's like, oh no, like you know, I hope Joe don't mind this, but like, Joe, Joe's 70. Like Joe turned 70 last year, right? So like Joe in his early 70s. My mom in her mid 60s. She been telling everybody her age for the last 2 weeks, so I feel like I'm okay. But she in her mid 60s, and like while they're in good health, you know what I'm saying? It's like they not like that's not a young age. Like we've seen people die earlier than that. So sometimes that reality, like you said, of now like our parents are getting older, or like younger siblings or cousins or whatever are getting older, and now they're entering this world that is a new world than what it was when I was 18, 19, and they have more things that they have to deal with. And you find yourself now, I think I forgot who I was talking with, but I'm like, we got to start planning at family reunions now. Excuse me? Record scratch?
Right.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure on me to be planning a family reunion. Because where it's gonna be? Who? Hey, I'm sorry. I don't. Somebody else do it. Give it to somebody else. But it's interesting. Do you feel like any of the responsibility that you felt as you hit that age where you started to realize that more was falling on you? How do you feel like what helped you navigate that space as that became more of a reality in terms of like, oh, this is just on me, or I don't have nobody else to reach out to. I gotta figure this out on my own, or I gotta take care of this for other people. How easy was that to navigate, if easy at all?
It's not. Short answer. I don't, I guess I'm navigating it relatively well because like there's still breath in my body, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know how to get everybody on track. That's the hard part.
Mm.
Like, and this is not just in the family context, but if you are in community, a group of friends, family, partnership, or whatever, and y'all mutually rely on each other, which I think should be the thing to do, which is great, but everybody's gonna still have a strength within that.
Right.
So it's just like for the things that my community, village, and circle are, I don't know, leaning on me for. I'm like, okay, trust that I'm trying to get us to the next destination. And then they come up with so many roadblocks. Oh, I had forgot to tell you that this was going on, or ooh, last minute, I gotta do this. And I'm just like, I really told y'all the path forward so we could all navigate this with ease. And this is the thing that I do well, and y'all are not listening. So how am I navigating? By trying not to pull out my hair follicle by follicle. So I don't know how you navigating.
Uh, I I'm definitely learning day by day, right? And I think that I'm also trying to learn that, to your point of like trying to get people on track, is that truly like one's responsibility? Like I know people take that on, but like is that really on us to do so? I think it's easy to say, well, somebody has to, so I might as well. And then if on top of that it's a strength, then yeah, let's just rock out. But I think the pressure that comes with that, especially when even in community, I don't, I'm not quick to say that people don't appreciate it, but people got to be on the same type of time. People got to, it's a certain level of respect where I understand that's a strength. I understand what we're all trying to get out of community. Therefore, if this is a benefit to all, I need to buy in. And not so much that it toes the line of disrespect, but I think if, you don't have that mentality, that's where it's hard for people to get on track because I think it's extremely difficult for people to, one, genuinely accept and realize that there are people that you know are willing to do things that benefit somebody else. Like it's really hard for people to accept that, like, oh, this person cares about me so much that they will lay something out for me or give me a plan or give me an idea that is actually for my benefit. They really gain nothing from this is just because they care about me, and sometimes that becomes a roadblock to the buy-in in terms of getting people on track. And I don't know if I have felt that specifically, but the idea of trying to figure out my place, right? So whether it's with my family, whether it's with my friends, whether it's in relationships, like where do I fit? Like what role am I playing with all these people who matter, um, who I care about, who care about me? Who am I supposed to be for them? because I'm still trying to figure a lot out for myself. There's a lot that I want to get in order that I'm starting to figure out how, but it's still going to take some time. And there's a part of me that's like, I'm praying this role don't get brought to me, and I feel like I'm not ready for it, whatever the role is going to be. So that's how I kind of feel like I'm navigating it right now.
That's a light bulb for me because it's not so much what role do I see myself in or what role am I assuming? It's what role have I been casted in? Because,
Yeah,
like you said earlier, how you see yourself and how other people see you is two different things,
yeah,
right? Well, sometimes it's two different things. So I may see myself in this, specified role, but they didn't cast me somewhere else. Maybe I am supposed to be supporting cast member, right? I don't have a whole lot of lines, so let me shut up and just, smile and wave. But I don't know that. Nobody said it. And there is the problem. That's when the tension comes up. Now you trying to read for two roles and that ain't it.
yeah. No, that's a great point, and that's a great analogy because people won't tell you, and that's not always malicious. There
Right.
are people that they don't realize they casting. You got
Right.
people that don't realize they casting roles, so they casting you. They don't realize it. You trying to figure out how you got cast here, and now just everybody on set confused. Right? That's why the show got canceled after one season.
Right.
But no, that's extremely real, and I think it takes somebody has to want to understand that role because it's not about somebody wanting a particular, but just understanding whatever role you are cast in. If that's what you're supposed to do or who you're supposed to be for that person, let that be the case. And let somebody else tell you what they want you to be. I know I had that. I guess for me, it always played out more so in intimate relationships than it did, other general relationships, but it happened in friendships too. But I just always came in guns blazing. Guns blazing. I'm here to do everything. Be the best partner possible, be the best friend possible. Like, I'm just here to do all these things for you that you did not even ask for. I just assume you need it because that's what I assume a good friend would do.
Right.
And I think it was a really tough lesson for me to understand that just because you have all this to give and just because you want to give and you think somebody would benefit from it doesn't mean that they want it, doesn't mean that they need it. Definitely don't mean that you the person that's supposed to be giving it to them. And you got to allow people to let you know where you're supposed to be. And that just alleviates a lot of pressure that I know I used to put on myself, so speaking for me, but it alleviates a lot of pressure when you give other people that I don't know if that's giving them power or not, but when you let them make that decision versus you making it, even though you making it from, a good place and out of caring about them, that may not be what they want or need from you. So, yeah, that's been a large part of my navigation in regard to how I figure out my place and where I fit. But yeah, trial and error a lot. I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably been my biggest example of trial and error of something that I really had to keep like attempting to get better at and failing at before I really understood it to be at the place to articulate my feelings about it now. But do you feel like you had a huge or one particular thing that was like a big trial and error moment for you where it was that one thing you had to kind of attempt multiple times before it really clicked for you?
Dating.
Uh, pretty common. But I think your story, at least from things that I know, gets interesting. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
A lot of trial, a lot of error. But you take a little nugget of knowledge from each little interaction to be like, okay, cool. This is I got something from this. I can apply this to the next. So maybe I was tripping in that last situation. Or maybe I was doing everything right and that person just wasn't it. So, you kiss enough frogs and then you find something at the end. But yeah, no, the trial and error in dating, I think is probably the biggest thing that I've seen because I've been able, not even blaming it on the other people that I have entertained. We'll put it that way. I think it's just more what I learned from myself in that situation and how I can apply it to the next one. So that has been my biggest trial and error, but I think that is a blessing. because I wouldn't have had the errors to fix had I not tried to put myself out there. Because it's like, oh, the dating pool is ghetto. It's got piss in it. Everybody says something negative about it, which it's true. Um, but every now and again, you find a little chlorine, and you be like, okay, I can put my toe back in here and be good. So, yeah, no, not dating.
Find a little chlorine
Mhm.
is crazy, but that's that's very real, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I would imagine and hope that our age, that most people are approaching dating in that way. The sad reality is there's a population out there that is not, but nonetheless,
I've met some of them.
but no, it is a. I mean, and I think in general, trial and error is a blessing because, like you said, to the point of like you don't have those errors without the trials. Obviously, that's applicable in all aspects of life. Whether that's taking a leap of faith on a job or taking a leap of faith on, it could be a friendship. It could be some other opportunity that bears something of relevance to your life. But and I think a lot of people, you get to a certain age where the trial part seems too risky. And so at what point do you stop looking at trials as risk and you realize them as reality? Or like when was that point for you? Because I think that just happened for me maybe like this year, like 2024. I finally had that like epiphany where I'm like, yeah, you can't just look at everything as a risk. And even if it is a risk, let's reframe it as a trial because if it don't go the way you want it to, or if it goes wrong, whatever that means, not the end of the world. Don't mean you can't pivot, turn things around, but you got to try. Like you got to make the attempt. You know what I'm saying? But like, when was that moment for you?
I don't know if I had that moment, but I think everything is a risk. I mean, I'm not risk averse. I'm a very calculated risk kind of person. So I've thought things through, and this isn't just in dating, but um, literally everything somebody does is a risk. The moment I leave my house, it is a risk because will I make it back? I don't know. That doesn't stop me from leaving the house, right? You
Right.
know, is in dating, if I want to, talking dating apps, if I want to send a message to somebody first. The risk is that they will say, "Ugh, get out my face," or they just like won't reply and say, "No, I'm not interested." But there's a risk of rejection. So there's calculated risk in everything, but I'm fine with that because I need to know that something's at stake in order to keep my interest. So if I'm just going to do something and it's like it's guaranteed, I'm not really for it. I mean, I would like guaranteed money. I'm not. Don't make me risk my paycheck, but. I need a level of risk to stay engaged.
That's a that's a really good point. I really like that point. Would you say that a trial, could you reframe a calculated risk to be the equivalent of a trial from the standpoint of trial and error? Would you say that
Mm,
is accurate, or would you agree with that statement? That's what I
yeah,
heard.
I would look at you saying Hunger Games.
Yes.
You Hunger Games popped up in your Oh, perfect. So yeah, Hunger Games when they did the 12 of them in the dial in the water, that I forget which movie that was, but um they all went in. Calculated risk, man, do I grab these weapons right now? If I do, somebody gonna get me real quick. Like all those things. So like, yeah, the calculated risk of it all, I think it's something to fuel people actually. If I'm speaking for myself, it fuels me. But I think when you ask that question, I think of the Hunger Games scene on how that plays out. Do I go now? Do I hold back? What happens here? Everybody still got the same end goal, which is survival and winning, but how that plays out looks differently.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I mean, I think I don't know if that's ever something that you really master. I don't know if life is set up for you to really master calculating risk in that regard, but I think the more comfortable you get with taking those risks, or at least being more comfortable with trial and error, I mean, the easier it becomes over time, maybe.
Yeah. Each risk is different than the last, and then some risk is greater than the last. but I don't think really any risk is the same because you can't risk the same thing twice outside of like, I don't know, shooting craps or something. Like you can't take the same you can't take the same risk twice because then it's not a risk. It's something that you understand. Now, if you risk and failed it or you risked and succeeded, that might change it, but it's still the same risk.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Agreed there. Agreed there. But yeah, that has been another episode of the Just Checking In podcast. We are closing in on 50. What a milestone that will be. But we here every week, still giving y'all gems, still giving y'all classics, still giving y'all check-ins. And I hope that y'all appreciate them because we appreciate y'all. But until then, and until the next episode, we will catch y'all. Peace.